In Arabic, it's called Abyssinian, and it is one of the Quran stories that talks about the previous people's stubbornness in evil, arrogance, and harming believers. Allah mentioned this story to remind the unbelievers of Quraysh that he is the God of the Kaaba and its sole protector. As usual, the story ends with the punishment of the evil characters and the victory of the poor people. The story began when the oppressive king of Yemen, Abrahah Al-Ashram, was angry at the people of Yemen for heading to the Hajj towards the Kaaba. As a result, he built a church to stop their pilgrimage to Mecca. But one day, someone threw garbage or vandalized his church, so he became furious and decided to prepare an army of soldiers and elephants to go to Mecca, to demolish the Kaaba. Some tribes confronted him on his way, but Abrahah's army fought them and stole their camels. God says, "Have you not considered, O Muhammad, how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? Did he not make their plan into misguidance? And he sent against them birds in flocks, striking them with stones of hard clay, and he made them like eaten straw." 1-5 Surah Al-Fil. Allah the Almighty says, "Have you not considered, O Muhammad, how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? Did he not make their plan into misguidance? And he sent against them birds in flocks, striking them with stones of hard clay, and he made them like eaten straw." Before Prophet Muhammad was born, the governor of Abyssinia, Abrahah Al-Ashram, had built a grand place of worship and asked all Arabs to worship there. This site was richly decorated with all sorts of treasures. But the Arabs refused to bow down. Their loyalty lay with the Kaaba, built by Prophet Abraham. This angered Abrahah so much that he swore to destroy the Kaaba. The Abyssinians had tame elephants that they used in wars. Abrahah gathered his army of men and elephants and marched towards Makkah. As he advanced towards the Kaaba, he defeated the tribes, enslaving the people and seizing their property. Included in this were 200 camels that belonged to Abdul Muttalib Ibn Hashim, the Prophet Muhammad's grandfather, who was then the leader of the Quraish. The tribes of Quraish, Kinanah, and Hudhail decided to fight against Abrahah, but they realized that they could not afford such a war and gave up the plan. Abrahah, meanwhile, sent a messenger to the Quraish. In his message, Abrahah declared that he had come only to destroy the sacred house and wouldn't harm anyone unnecessarily. He said that if the people didn't want to fight, their leader should come and meet Abrahah. Abdul Muttalib, after listening to the message, said, "By Allah, we do not intend to fight. Really, we cannot afford it. This is the sacred house of Allah and his Khalil, friend, Prophet Abraham. He alone can protect it if he wills to." The messenger then took him to Abrahah. Abrahah asked what the chief of the Quraysh wanted. Abdul Muttalib asked for compensation for the 200 camels that were taken from him and did not say a word about the expected attack on the Kaaba. When Abrahah expressed surprise, Abdul Muttalib answered, "I am the master of the camels, whereas the Kaaba, house of worship, has its Lord to defend it." Abrahah arrogantly claimed that no one could defend the Kaaba from him, to which Abdul Muttalib replied, "You are on your own." Abrahah then gave him his camels back. Abdul Muttalib went home and told the Quraysh about his conversation with Abrahah and ordered them to evacuate Makkah and move to the mountains. He then went to the Kaaba, along with some men, and holding the ring of the Kaaba's door, invoked Allah and sought his aid against Abrahah and his troops. Abdul Muttalib set out with all the Quraysh to the mountains seeking shelter and waiting to see what would happen next. The next morning, Abrahah prepared himself, his troops, and his elephant, Mahmud, to enter Makkah. When Mahmud was directed towards Makkah, a man called Nufail bin Habib came near him and whispered in his ear, "Kneel down, Mahmud, and go back home safe. You are in God's sacred town." He let go of his ear and the elephant kneeled down. Nufail bin Habib then went away and climbed up the mount till he was far and safe. The Abyssinians tried everything to make the elephant stand again, but in vain. They beat him, hurt him with weapons, but still the elephant refused to get up and march towards Makkah. While trying to get him to stand, they turned his direction to Yemen and he immediately got ready to move. Similarly, He was ready to go to Syria, but still refused to budge in the direction of the Kaaba. God then sent birds from the seaside that resembled hawks. Each bird held 3 stones, one in its beak and one in each leg. The birds dropped these stones on the Abyssinians, killing them. Some Abyssinians fled while death pursued them everywhere they went. They tried to go back the way they had come and asked Hudhail bin Habib to guide them back to Yemen. God also sent a severe wind that added to the speed and strength of the stones and caused the majority of the army to perish. Abrahah was hit with a stone as well. His people carried him, and his body began to tear apart by the time they reached Sana'a. After a short while, his chest cracked and he died. Ibn Ishaq said some of the Abyssinians managed to return to Yemen and related to their people what had happened to them and the whole army.